Good morning, guys and girls, and they. Don't forget my gender pronouns. You're gonna need those in the Thunderdome. Today, I've got a story about. It looks like stagflation's on the menu. We're gonna have to talk about it a little bit more. There's some CEOs that are warning of it, and I just got this one off of Zero Hedge. Stagflation trap will lead to universal basic income and food rationing, and I could not agree more. It was an enormous Zero Hedge, and I went through this morning and got some of the real good meat out of it. I've already put it on my Telegram, so go over there and check that out. And this is over here too. This was the second part of yesterday's video. But check this out. This is we're getting there fast. The more I hear people like Nancy Pelosi get up there and flail her arms around and talk, she's doing that as a distraction, I think. I don't think she's that stupid. I just think she's really evil. And she's just Putin, and she's doing a bunch of really weird things, like she's something's ruling over her, if you know what I mean. But check this out. CEO of top consumer investment firm warns of 1970 styles stagflation. I can't read this morning. The words are running together like crazy this morning. The invasion of Ukraine and the events that followed, especially in the commodity markets. Pay attention to commodities. We should be set up for the biggest bull run we've ever had in commodities, fueled by crazy money printing and just the sheer need of things like oil and possibly uranium in the future. Uranium looks wonderful right now. It's starting to bump. I'm hoping when we have this thing, whatever it may be, the uranium comes back down a little bit, and that's when I'd like to get in. But I might start scaling in it. If we're going to have energy, it's going to come from uranium. If it's going to be green at all, it's the greenest energy that we know of. It appears that reflation narrative has quickly shifted to stagflation. Woo! That sounds fun. As one of the most recognizable consumer good brands warned how the dark days of the 1970 style inflation could be imminent. One of my listeners brought that up yesterday in the comment section about how, this could be kind of like 1970s stagflation, inflation, where commodities went way up, and the oil lines and the gas lines. I actually talked to my grandfather about that. He's 94, almost 94. And he remembers it well, and that very well could happen here. The best thing we could do right now is drill like crazy. But, Nancy Pelosi and that posse, Biden, those cronies, they don't benefit from the economy doing good. And it's really hard to reset anything if it's not broken. You got to really break it down where it won't even come on anymore, and say, okay, well, let's hit the reset button. You hit the reset button, and it starts a new program. I'm thinking that's what they're trying to do. Following the far hotter than expected CPI print last week, soaring to levels in February not seen since '82, JAB Holding Company, a German conglomerate that includes investments in companies like luxury fashion, animal health, fast food, forestry, consumer goods, coffee, they're into everything. The CEO that's putting this out is worth $34 billion. I mean, their company is. So these are the people that I try to watch. That's why I brought this on. We believe we are now seeing a tectonic shift to a completely different macroeconomic and investment environment that most leaders and investors of today have not seen or experienced in their professional lives. Dan Pena, I heard him talking about it. I don't listen to him much because he curses like a sailor, but I listened to him a while the other day, and he was saying that 80% of the money that's on the face of the earth is managed by people under 30. Yeah. The majority of the money is managed by people that don't have a full deck of cards. I'm sorry, you young guys. I know some of you do, maybe at 25 or 26, but I know I didn't, and that happens for most people. You don't quite get there until you're about 30, for the majority, I would say. But the point is they've never seen a crash. I don't think anybody has ever seen a crash like what's coming. And my buddy in the comments that said it's going to be like 1970s. I feel like it's going to be like 1970s and the Great Depression had a illegitimate child. I think it's going to be more like that. And then you're going to have this stagflation, UBI, people in the Great Reset trying to take over at the same time, because when you crush it down, they're going to try to reset it. And I don't know if they're going to get away with it, but it seems like they're working on a global scale. All the things that happen in Canada, and if you don't comply, they're going to cut you off. That's the scariest part. And everybody's like, I've got gold and silver. That is going to be rough. That's going to be hard to deal with if they just cut you out of the bank. Because that's the way most people watching me right now have got money in the bank, and they've got a debit card, and they've got all these other things. And when the stock market looks like my social credit score and everything's bad, it's going to be hard to function. So just try to start keeping that in mind. And don't forget, this really could do good in the future. Even if everything kept going and the green weenies got their way and this euphoric thing worked out, we're still going to have silver to go in electric cars and electric everything. Phones, everything you can think of, solar panels. The green weenies, this is the metal of the green weenies. And it's God's money. There's only so much of it in the earth. And if people keep buying it like they're buying it right now, it's not going to be around. They're not going to be able to. It's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, it's if you buy it all up, then there's not any left. And they're going to paper over it. But just know this is might be a cool play. If you're interested, I'll leave a link to my wife's email address. You can email her directly, and she'll walk you through how you can do it and not be traced or trackable or anything like that. A lot of people are concerned about that, but just know that's there. So the CEO that runs a $34 billion company is saying stagflation is in the mail. And I agree with him. Turns out stagflation is a precursor to universal basic income. And that's going to work out like a soup sandwich. That is communism, that is how they're going to control people with their digital money. So think about it. You got your digital money on your phone, and you get your little stimmy check every month or whatever. It's got a timestamp on it, or your pension, or whatever government funds you get. I'm not saying you shouldn't get it or anything like that. But they're going to be able to manipulate you on what you buy, where you buy, who you give to, everything you can think of. Not to mention, they'll know when you're sleeping. They'll know what you look at. They already know that. But it will be total control. That's why you got to keep an eye on this universal basic income, because people line up for free stuff. That's how they're going to sell the digital dollar. Things they say have been carefully scripted, asserting that money creation is a counterbalance to inflation instead of the cause, is not brilliant, but it is not designed to convenience people, only to create confusion. That's exactly what's going on. This is mass chaos. And I learned that a long time ago. Anywhere there's chaos, there's money to be made. That's why I'm paying attention and I'm making these videos. Let's not forget that only last year, these same people were telling the public that inflation was purely transitory and that there was nothing to worry about. Y'all remember that? I made a video about it, how it wasn't tranny inflation. There's no such thing as tranny inflation. We might see some tranny hyperinflation, though. Now they're trying to cover up their tracks and the culpability of the Federal Reserve. I believe the goal here is to simply stall for the time until the stagflationary collapse unfolds. They have the perfect scapegoat as they launch an economic war with Russia and likely China in the near term. All eyes on China, guys. So the West has canceled out Russia. Do you think China could cancel out the West? We get everything from there. Everything I'm wearing, probably. Everything you're wearing. Everything we use is from China. It's the scariest thought ever. All they would have to do is cut off the spigot. Okay, U.S., we'll just cut you off. There'd be people dying because they couldn't get any prescriptions. There would be stuff that we use every day that just wouldn't be there. Can you imagine all the electronics, including the camera I'm using to talk to you, including this, all this stuff? This. I wish I could say these were made in the USA. My hat will be. As soon as I find one, I will buy it from the USA. But they're not made here. It's crazy. So all eyes on China. That, to me, that's the nail in our economy's coffin. And the effects of this war will hurt the U.S. and Europe far more than any realize. Stagflation has the ability to trigger much higher prices in necessities, while it is simultaneously drags GDP down along with wages, jobs, manufacturing, etc. There is also the very real threat of government price controls, which would suffocate production. People will stop. When price controls start happening, people will quit. It will no longer be worth creating those goods if you can't sell them for what you need to sell them for to make profit. This whole thing, all this economy is run on greed. Everybody is run on greed, including me and you. We want money to do things, and everybody is run by greed. So it's not necessarily a bad thing unless you're greedy. In closing, the first initiative is the concept of universal basic income. We heard a lot about this a few years ago, but the idea didn't stick too well with the American public. The truth, however, is that we already had UBI for a long time in the form of COVID stimulus checks. The helicopter money was funded by over $6 trillion in the central bank, fiat created from nothing, and then directly injected into the citizen. I disagree with that. The citizens got very little of that. It went to a lot of the banks and bailouts for other businesses, which eventually leaked into the stock market, and now the stock market and all assets are at an all-time high. So just know it's in the mail. It's coming. Do what you think necessary. I've already talked about this stuff. I don't care if you buy it from me. Just get a little bit. I can tell you what I do. I'm not a financial advisor. I would do my financial statement. I would see what I was worth. That's all of your assets minus your liabilities. Whatever you're worth, start at 10%. Then you've got your 10% bag. And it doesn't matter what happens to the dollar. This covers your wealth. You know, it's like insurance for your wealth. If you've got credit card debt, I just met this person. He's a super nice guy. He had some credit card debt. That's the first thing you need to take care of. That's not financial advice. That's just normal. That's what you need to do. Sorry, it's not fun or sexy. Just get rid of credit card debt, get out of it, and never get back into it again. 18% interest will eat you up. You'll never pay it off. You've got to get away from that. Sell a kidney. Get out of it. So get out of bad debt. Get into good debt if you want to. I try to stay in a little bit of good debt with some rental properties and stuff like that. But going into this environment, that's a gamble as well. Right now, we're trying to brace for impact. Hold this, hold cash, hold a little crypto, ball up in a hard knot, and be ready to jump on investments. I'm going to be hollering about them from the rooftop. I'm going to be doing a moonwalk down this anvil when it's time to buy real estate because I am into real estate. That's going to be, it may be the last time real estate's good to buy. I don't know if the government owns it all. It's going to be hard to tell. But, guys, y'all have an awesome, awesome day. I'm headed to drive 100 miles to work, and that's it. Later.